drug abuse, cancer,
measles, diabetes, AIDS, cancer.
Good evening once again, and welcome to our live edition of Doctor and Call. It is the 4th day of April 2023. Yes, indeed, our first program for the month of April. And we do have a very, very important discussion this evening, especially as we're getting close to the Easter weekend. And of course, we know usually around that time, lots of activities take place, and there are lots of people around, a lot of traffic, a lot of people get involved in a lot of social activities. And so many times after, holidays like these, you hear of accidents and, little unfortunate things happening. And this evening, we do intend to address the issue of accidents, not just, traffic accidents, but accidents generally that do occur. And I can tell you, accidents can have long-term effects on individuals. And I'm not just talking here about physical or health related, but it can also have social effects. It can have, economic impacts as well. So there's a lot that can happen as a result of accidents when they do occur. And so it is very important that we pay attention to what we are doing. We pay attention to our surroundings and all of that. Yes, pay attention to the people who you go around with. You need to be responsible and exercise good judgment at all times. And if you do that, I can guarantee you can minimize the amount of accidents that can happen. We may not be able to prevent everyone, but certainly if we exercise good judgment and we pay attention to what is happening around us, we will be able to minimize them significantly. Of course, Dr. Nixon is with me as always, and it is a pleasure to welcome her. Doc, good evening and welcome again. How are you?
Good evening. I'm fine, thank you. Are you being holy this Holy Week?
Holy.
No.
It depends on what you mean by holy.
It says no.
Well, it depends. It depends. I would do what I normally do. So I try to avoid accidents. I try to keep myself in a safe place and avoid doing things that might put me in a compromising position. So this is what I'll be doing this weekend. Are you gonna be holy this weekend?
I'm always holy. Good evening, Grenada. He's trying to test my faith. Happy Holy Week to everyone. This is a very good time, and we think of life, and I think it's really good for us to think this week, today, to be looking at road safety on our roads. This weekend passed, last weekend, Friday it was? Last week Friday, we got a new road opened.
Yes.
Which does help to ease the transit and makes my transit to work harder because people are using that road. The road between Bolio, just up at Mount Kuma, and takes us over to the bottom of Grenville Vale, heading into Bush Issue.
Yes.
It's actually a welcome sight when we consider that the Western Road has been so badly damaged. I saw a video this week of the state of that, what used to be a road, which looked just like a gravel quarry, because it's just been, falling apart, headed down to the ocean, and you wonder, when are we ever going to be able to have a road? So if we look at why we have roads, why it's necessary to keep our roads safe. It's not just about a road, huh? Roads are built for human social needs. We need to go to church. We need to go to work. We need to go to the beach for recreation. We need to go to parties. We need to take our children to school. We need to go visit. We need to interact with each other, others. Plus, we need to be productive, huh? Again, going to work. Whether we have farms, we need to have roads that take us to and from our farms, take our goods to market, wherever the market may be. We need a road to go down to the port. We need a road to go to the airport. We need roads. But just apart from just needing physical roads, we need the roads to be in a certain condition. It must be safe. So again, if I talk about the Molyneux Road, I loathe to think if the government hadn't taken action early, as they were very correct to do, whether people will still try and pass it. I cannot figure out why you have to ask people not to drive on a road that is sinking. Doesn't make any sense. The quality of the road, would the new Montcuma Road be good for use if it had a lot of physical deficits? It is good for us because it really shortens the transit between here, St. George's and Bushiju, but in a safe way. We have a decent, wide, properly paved, no potholes yet, hope there will be none, right? Properly paved. I don't know about the lighting along the road, but I know it has a lot of corners and some really hidden gully. But we have a new road, and it really does help to improve the economic life and just the stress people have been experiencing trying to transit through Montmartre. We know the stress the Montmartre people have had with the noise, the extra movement, the destruction of a road that really wasn't built to contain or to accommodate the level of traffic. The other thing is, in relation to traffic, we have a whole lot more vehicles, a whole lot more. Are those vehicles efficient? Do they run well? We've seen some crazy accidents. Remember the lady last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, before COVID, who died on a carnage when the bus's brake gave away on Young Street, and the bus went into the sea. We've seen some vehicles in the bottom of the Western Coast Road. When police van went down, we saw a vehicle in St. George's right by near to the fish market, more by the gas station, that went over into the ocean. And we see vehicles that turn over. Have these been roadworthy vehicles or not? That's something we have to consider, right? Is the road good quality? Does it have too many potholes? Does it have potholes? Does it have signage? A whole lot of stuff that will determine whether or not this road is worthy, whether it gives what it needs to give to ensure that it's safe. And then the thing everybody cusses about every day. Everybody cusses about the quality of our drivers. Do you know your road code? I'm just saying, we're going to talk about this again, right? Are you a responsible driver? Do you think you have the capacity, you have enough skill for driving? You know, we were in Progress Park a few weeks ago. Little gathering on a Sunday, and in Progress Park along the in and out road, there's a lot of loose gravel because it started being dry up there, okay? And this guy came in, dropped off somebody, and tried to scratch out. I'm like, everybody's like, what's wrong with this guy? First of all, there's so many vehicles parked on the road, right? That if his scratch was unsuccessful, he would have more than scratched other people's cars. He might have ended up dead. So are we responsible drivers? Do we know our road code? Do we know that little book that tells you how to use the road? The road code enhances the movement of the traffic, because if we can all move, if we follow the road code, the traffic moves. We follow the rules, because the rules are intended to make the traffic move safely. Are you a driver who drives conscientiously? Do you make sure? Sometimes you know it's your right away, right? But if you give up your right way for 2 seconds, it will make the rest of the traffic flow. Are you that kind of polite driver on the street? Because we need to do that. We have to use our brain, right? Even the road code says, hey, it's really the guy on the other side because you have the obstruction. Because it's really yours because the guy has the obstruction. Maybe if you let him come through, it will be a lot easier for the rest of the traffic. Okay. Can you really drive? Are you driving a vehicle that you can manage? Okay, because I've seen some people drive some big vehicle, some fast vehicle that are really not capable of managing. Do you know anything about defensive driving, which is taking driving to another level, right? How tolerant you are of other drivers, how much you know about your car. And then I wanted to ask about that car. Is that car a car that you get because it's cheap, you buy it, and then a lot of parts on it don't really work properly? Are you just making it, well, is the police allowing us to pass cars that are really not roadworthy? Those are important things you have to take into consideration. Why? Because the road safety has to do with how we're able to do our duties on the road without being injured or without dying. Okay? Without being injured or without dying. It has to do with the fact that we need to the measures that are put on by road safety, whoever guides road safety, and not just the police, okay? Reduce the risk of traffic injuries and death. You spoke about that, right? It speaks about just the need for everybody to be safe. You know, there are vulnerable groups like pedestrians and young people who are most at risk for being injured, and seniors, people who can't walk, and who can't ambulate or who can put on wings when somebody comes who doesn't decide to stop for them. So, do you know that there are 1.3 million deaths on the road world over? Did you know that? 1.3 million people will die on the road. And therefore, the World Health Organization sees this as a public health problem. Right? If 1.3 million, we don't have we had a road death for the year? No.
I can't remember. I don't
remember anybody dying. But one is too much, okay? Because one for us is 1 in 100,000, and that's a high amount, okay? 20 to 50 million people will be injured over the world. Yeah, we don't live in places like India where it's and some places in Central America and wherever else where the traffic is just really a whole lot, right? But 20 to 50 million people will be injured or killed on the road. 50% of the deaths happen to vulnerable people like pedestrians and young people and older people, right? Especially males. Or males are the ones who are going to die on the road. And we know why, but we can talk about it. 93% of the people who actually die on the road come from lower income and middle income countries like ours. So we are in Grenada at increased risk. We have a greater chance of dying on the road here than elsewhere. Not that you're not going to go to America and dead, but the bottom line, among populations like ours, there's a greater risk of dying. And why? Well, we know we don't have very good roads. We know that we have bad drivers. We know that we have bad cars. We know that we don't have great health systems. And so if an accident occurs, that the person may survive in a more developed health environment, that here you may not survive. And that's part of the reason why in the other parts of the world where they have a lot of deaths, like Central America and East, the Far East, right? Is often because of lack of services. But we can prevent all of this by putting into place the things that already reduce that risk of having road traffic accidents and death.
You know, Doc, you've gone through a number of things, to bring home that very important point. And all of the things you brought out, whether vehicles are roadworthy, whether our roads are safe for driving, whether or not we can drive properly, whether we are defensive, and all of these things. And I liked it because when you put all of that together, and you answer these questions, it will determine whether or not you can actually avoid accidents from happening. And we know what accidents can cause. I've been looking at some statistics up to I think it's 2019, and 1.24% of the injuries in Grenada, people who are injured, is as a result of road traffic accidents. So it is a very serious thing, and I can tell you, a lot of it we don't hear about. What we hear about is what is reported to the police, and the police may put out a report, but lots happen. And the thing about it, with every accident that happens, there is the risk of someone or people losing their life or being seriously injured. In some cases, probably might never be able to walk again, and all of these things. So it is very important that all of the things that Doc mentioned earlier be given serious consideration, and probably as individuals, we should probably all answer these questions. Put ourselves in that situation. Am I a defensive driver? My vehicle, is it worthy to be on the road? So all of these little questions, if we take them on board and we answer them, it would put us in a good position to avoid ourselves from being in accidents, and also avoid other people, because a lot of time when accidents happen, there are people who get hurt by default. And that's a very...
So it is a public health issue because it's people.
Yes.
It's a public health issue because it takes into consideration people's well-being and their capacity to be healthy and productive. Okay? It takes into consideration what it costs. Now, let me give you a little example. Let me give you a scenario. So you are a 54-year-old man and you ride a motorcycle. You're a carpenter, right? Very proficient carpenter, John, and you have to work. Your wife doesn't work. She stays home, and she's always been a housewife. And you guys been, you're all right. You have a house and you're stable. But you have 4 children between the ages of 22 and let's say 14, okay? So secondary and tertiary level education. You haven't had a lot of education because you have, your family poor, and but you make it in a trade, right? And so your family is relatively comfortable. And one day, one of those little bright little boys who drive car too fast that they don't know nothing about. Because most people can drive and they can take a car straight on a straight road where there are no encumbrances. But I tell people, every day the road you drive is different. There may be extra pebbles. There may be a hole that wasn't there before because rain fell. There may be children playing on the road. There may be oil that fell from a truck, or gravel, or wheat, and rainfall on it.
Mm-hmm.
And there may be a lot of traffic or no traffic. Or you just may not be the person who drove there yesterday. You just come in as a visitor, and you drive and you get in an accident. Okay? But the road is not the same. You drive from St. David's to town every day, don't you? And every day the road is different.
Yeah. Well, maybe
every day it's different.
Maybe the road
every single
maybe
day.
Maybe you drive the same road, but every day the circumstances are different. Yeah.
The people you meet on the road are different. Like I tell you, from the open Mount Kumar Road, I drive along the Mount Gay Road to get to work. Guess what? I was shocked on Monday at the amount of trucks I met. Okay? Quite shocked at the amount of trucks I met. All right? Coming, going towards Monkuma. Right? It means that I have to be aware that there are going to be more trucks on the road. And some of them drive crazy because they think because they're big, they can do whatever they want. And I hope truck drivers listening. No, you can't. The road divided in two. Half is yours, half is mine. Okay? The road conditions change because you may meet irresponsible drivers. You meet inexperienced drivers. You meet an older person who has a right to also be on the road, but drives at a different pace from you. Okay? You may meet learners on the road. You may meet cyclists. You may meet motorists. So the conditions on the road change. You have to be aware. So let's go back to Mr. John, riding his little motorcycle to go to work. And some stupid person or somebody who is not paying attention lick him off the bike, break his right hand, broke his foot. Okay? What does it cost him? It costs him his livelihood because he can't drive another nail for a little while. His son goes to SGU and needs to pay school fees because it's the end of the summer and school fees are due for the fall semester. His daughter goes into fifth form and she needs her books. The 14-year-old has to start doing SBAs. Okay? And on and on and on and on. Guess what it costs? Hear what it costs. It costs to do the forensic when the police come. It costs. If somebody dies on the road, it costs the police over $10,000. Did you know that?
No, I did
just
not.
Just for forensic. Go ask the police. Right? So it costs the ambulance to come and pick up the person who had the accident, take them to the hospital, do all the treatment. He may need surgery if his hand is so badly broken. Right? But let's take on Mr. John alone. He can't go to work probably for the next 4-6 months if he can work as well because his hand might be so badly injured, right? So badly damaged, I want to say in this case, right? Think of his emotional state. Can you quantify that? No, you cannot. How does he pay his electricity bill? Those minor things, buy food for his family, and probably does like a garden in the evening, but that can't happen anymore because right hand mash up. So you might see it on the road like, you knock this man off his bike? What these crazy people? And you drive on. But we forget to think.
What happened? The impacts.
Even if he couldn't work for a week, he might have had a task, a little contract, building some cupboards in a restaurant or in a hotel or in somebody's house, and they pay him part of the money already, but so he had to work the rest, and he can't. The person is having they want to rent out their house. See, you see how the income, the funding goes. Because if I want to rent my house, it's what it is, the 4th, right? You break his hand on the weekend. He can't finish my house that I was going to get on the 19th. Think about it, right? But my tenant's supposed to come in on the 1st of May. Means I don't earn. Where do I get money from to pay my mortgage? So we have to think about the long term. But also, it could be worse. He could have head injury, right? And his wife may be working. And his wife can't go to work because it's just two of them. This is another scenario, right? Just two of them. And they can't afford to pay for care. And he might have had big injury that causes immobility. Can't walk up and down. Can't even make himself a cup of tea because he can't get out of the bed. Okay? Or he may be a 44-year-old with 2 children, a company that serves, that employs 6 people. Let's say he's an engineer, right? Somebody who's likely to give to Grenada a lot. He pays taxes, he pays NIS, you got me? Right? And whatever other statutory deductions he has to make, he's paying and all his stuff. But guess what? He gets a head injury. And he doesn't really die, but he can't function. His wife now has to stay home or they have to find care for him, full-time care, because he has remained in a vegetative state. So people see it as an accident. It is a direct injury, and often long term in a lot of cases, right? And costly in most cases to the persons who are the victim and everybody who's related. So this young engineer had to close his company. 6 families are affected, right? I was hoping to take a little vacation. I said, but my boss, we're not making any money. So what do we do? Okay, so we have to be conscientious. It's not just a car bounce. What if he were a taxi driver in tourist season and his vehicle gets damaged? How does he earn for his family? What if he had visitors?
If we take it even a little further, what if in the process of knocking down this Mr. John on his bike, your vehicle flipped and you got injured?
And your neck break.
Folks, you probably might be wondering, what does this discussion have about doctor and call? But think about it seriously.
It is a public health problem.
Think about it seriously, and you would understand the impact. How so many people can be impacted by one careless
simple accident
driver on the road. Think about the burden it puts on the public purse, on our health sector,
on the economy in general. Right? On the economy in general, and especially on the public health purse. We don't need to have more things. So, guess what? Your wife goes into hospital to have a baby, right? And she needs to have a C-section. I mean, she's not urgent, but she has to have a C-section that we kind of scheduled for this morning, right? At 8:30. And then Tom comes in, has had an accident, and needs to use the operating theater for 3 hours. That's another day your wife will have to stay in the hospital. It costs the public purse. Think of severe injury. How much funds go into taking care of someone? Between moving them on the road, stabilizing in the hospital, doing long surgery, having more than one surgical intervention, and long stay in hospital. Because you know that orthopedics, right, have the longest stay. People who have to have orthopedic surgery have the longest stay in hospital. So we don't understand how much it takes. We don't understand how much it displays. A woman, for example, may need a hysterectomy. Or a man might need to fix a hernia because he can't work, right? And the day his schedule the day his surgery is scheduled, they have to be postponed because they have an injury, as somebody with severe injury, and the theater is not available, right? The operating room is not available for them to have the surgery. So the lady who has been bleeding and can't work, who said, well, next month I'm back to work. And the guy who is a farmer and has a hernia and he can't work, say, hey, in 6 weeks I'm back on track. They have to put that off. Because they already had people scheduled for the other days. So we have to think out, like you say, how it affects beyond just yourself, beyond whoever the victim of the accident is. And we have to remember that some accidents are the fault of the person who is actually conducting the vehicle. I've seen people riding on these scooters. Those vehicles are not meant to be driving around town, going up Canashville, go up to the hospital. That's not what they're for. They're for, go down campus and that kind of stuff. Go down places where you don't have a whole lot of road, where you don't drive very fast. The Bermudians use a lot of scooters, you know that, right? Because they have moratorium on how the traffic is, how the road runs. In Bermuda, you're allowed 1 car per family, 1 vehicle per family. If you have a family who's like a medical professional, they'll be allowed other cars because you need it for emergencies. But that is 1 vehicle per family. So people buy motorcycles, but they have injury. Those scooters cause a special kind of injury to your ankle, and it costs a lot. Granted, the Bermudan surgeons are accustomed to fixing because it's now like butter and bread to them, right? It's so simple. But the bottom line, it costs, and it costs time off work, right? It costs productivity when you can't get to work. It costs for physiotherapy and other support, right? We have to consider each one of us who uses the roadway, whether we drive or whether we are driven, right? Or whether we walk or we ride bicycle, however we use the transit, the roadway, we have to consider, how do I keep myself safe? And the people who jump in front of me on the pedestrian crossing, they also have a responsibility to use the roadway. I'm going to tell you something happened to me one evening. The rule on the pedestrian crossing is that when the motorist gets to the line, you stop at the line if there are people on the side, okay? I was driving towards the carnage on Melville Street, right? I got to the front of Republic Bank, and a lady is already halfway across the street. And I said, let me let this lady cross the street here. Because that's what you're supposed to do, because you have to wait until the persons using the pedestrian crossing are on the sidewalks. Mm-hmm. They're no longer in the road. And I sat and allowed her and looked at her in the corner of my eyes going across towards the bank. She was walking from the market side to go across Republic Bank on Melville Street on Esplanade Mall, right? And all of a sudden, the woman turned and ran back. You know why she ran back? Because the other person who was coming from the tunnel wasn't slowing down. No, I could have taken a chance already and started to move. And the truth is, I might have killed her, right? When she saw the other car coming, she just turned instinctively in the road and ran back. So even if I may have used the transit properly, she didn't. So pedestrians also have a responsibility, especially in big countries like, and in big cities like the cities in Africa. Africa has the highest rate of death, okay? Where there are a lot of people going across the street and they often have very little regard for the rules, or there are no rules. So people just walk. And people would get killed or they get maimed. Mm-hmm. Okay? So we have a lot of responsibility, every single person, to make sure the traffic keeps moving. The truth is, they say nobody really has a right of way. We all have to cooperate on the road.
You know, Doc, let's take a short break. When we come back, I want to look maybe at some risk factors and some of the things that people do, because I think we need to highlight it and send that message home. Some of the risk factors that can result in accidents. So, folks, we take a short break and we'll be back. And of course, we will be opening up the telephone lines so that you can call with your questions or comments. So stay with us. We'll be back with you in just a moment.
Here is a little known fact. There is only one place in Grenada that you can get an MRI scan done. That place is Spicile Imaging Center. Yes, Grenada, that's the truth. Other centers could offer you other scans, but Spicile Imaging provides an authentic MRI scan. We operate at Grenville and the Carnage. We provide the widest range of laboratory tests and services. CT scans, x-rays, mammograms, ultrasounds, and a host of other services. We are fully staffed by a team of family doctors and specialists. Call us today at 444-7679 or 440-1500 or visit any of our locations. Spicile Imaging, from seeing the doctor to getting lab tests, scans, and pharmacy services. We are here to take care of you.
Your life is yours, your future's in your hands. Your body is yours, that's why you need a plan. You gotta plan your family, avoid HIV, get the education from the Grenada Planned Parenthood Association.
We offer STI screening, gender-based violence counseling, prenatal and postnatal checks, injectables, condoms, pap smears, and other sexual reproductive services. Open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. The Pointe Street, St. George's. Whether male or female, it doesn't matter. We're here to make your life better.
Grenada Planned Parenthood Association.
For appointments, call 440-3341.
If there was ever a time to keep and stay healthy, it's now! We at Hills and Valley are here to help you take deliberate steps to maintain your health. We stayed true to maintaining the most comprehensive rates while stocking the widest range of medicines and health devices, including personal protective equipment. There are so many benefits shopping with us. You get great savings through discounts for senior citizens and reward cards for loyal customers. Ask about owning yours today. Visit us at Halifax and Grenville Street, St. George, Jubilee Street opposite the Grenville Bus Terminal, and at Hillsborough, Carriacou. Our wholesale distribution on Halifax Street also stocks the widest range of pharmaceuticals. We are with you on the hills and in the valleys. We are Hills and Valley Pharmacy.
WeatherGuard Pro. For every project, there's only one Pro.
Have you heard about the new Softweave bathroom tissue with total hygiene? As hygiene and safety have taken center stage, our bathroom tissue is now manufactured with 3 different technologies to offer the best protection for you and your family. UVC light technology for a safe and effective disinfection process, eliminating 99.9% of microorganisms. Also, production at high temperatures, killing all types of germs and bacteria. And it's pH controlled with delicate fibers to prevent irritation for even sensitive skin. Softweave Total Hygiene Bathroom Tissue. Available in supermarkets and shops island-wide. Visit Softweave Caribbean Facebook or Instagram pages for more information.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Doctor on Call, and for those of you just joining us, we are very happy to have you. We thank you for joining us, and of course, our friends on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, we thank you as well, our very loyal listeners, and of course, we encourage you to share the program because it's a lot of very important information that we are sharing this evening, and it's important, especially as I said earlier. We're getting ready, or we're getting close to the Easter weekend, of course. The holidays begin on Friday and go all the way up to Monday. And so people get involved in all the social activities. I know lots of people, they go to Bathway and to other beaches to have fun and to do things. And of course, sometimes they get overwhelmed because they overindulge in substances that, can cause a little disruption in their thoughts, so they can't think straight. And if you can't think straight, then obviously you won't be able to drive straight, So it's important. And so we want to look now at some of the risk factors. And Doc, folks, I always say there are a lot of information online. And if you go to the WHO website, there's a lot of information there regarding accidents. You would see information with statistics, the amount of people who get killed in road traffic accidents, some of the factors that cause accidents on the road. And so we want to look at some of them now. So, Doc, some of the risk factors as it relates to accidents, there are quite a number of them as you hear them, they as the people say, it falls straight in our plate here in Grenada. And you have things like speeding, driving under the influence of
So those are the human factors.
Yeah, driving under the influence of alcohol and psychoactive substances, non-use of motorcycle helmets, seat belts, and child restraints, distracted driving, unsafe road infrastructure, unsafe vehicles, inadequate law enforcement of traffic laws. So just a few of them. And Doc, I want us to look at them probably individually briefly.
One
so that
by
we
one.
can, yes, one by one.
So which one do you want to go with first then?
Let's start with speeding. I think speeding is one of the, because, you know, there are some people, and I am certain, and as people say, I'm prepared to put my neck on a block. There are some people who, based on how they drive, they seem to think that when you drive fast, that makes you a good driver. I believe that because I cannot come up with no other reason why some people drive the way they do. So that's my only conclusion, Doc.
So there's a reason why there are speed limits put on the road. And it has to do with the level of where you are, first of all, whether in a rural community where children play in the road. But these days, children don't even play cricket in the road anymore because they're afraid that the pile of them kill them off. Because, you know, when you used to have few cars and people drive conscious and you know the children play cricket in the road, they will drive slow. These days, you dare not because nobody's slowing down. Okay? So it depends on where they are, where you are, the speed limit is established. It also depends on the volume of vehicles because you can drive, I see people buy some nice high-end vehicles that need road. There's no Autobahn in Grenada, so there's no way you can go and speed. Okay, what you gonna do? Go up on Pearls Airport and run up and down? That's just for a while. But just getting from, just doing your regular duties, right? There's no need to speed. You need to leave home earlier, or you're late already. Okay? Speeding, we see the ambulance coming and we give the ambulance a look of space, and as the ambulance take off, we take off behind them. That is illegal. That is very illegal, and that is not only illegal; it's also dangerous because you don't know what they're seeing. We also need to know that the people who drive emergency vehicles, ambulance, fire trucks, whatever they are, right? They have to obey the rules. So if you're driving towards the hospital and you come up Morris Bishop, when you get to the corner with the traffic bottlenecks, you have to make sure that somebody makes a space for you. You can't bully the drivers. Okay? A friend of mine had severe injury in the US when the light was green. She was halfway across the green light, and the emergency vehicle came in and blew her car out of the road. You know, he's supposed to slow down if the light is red. Yes, he can go first, but everybody has to see him. Same here. So even our emergency vehicle drivers have to understand that they have to always obey the rule of the traffic.
And you know, as you're on that, Doc, I just want to say to some of the drivers of the emergency vehicles, don't take advantage.
And they know.
Don't take advantage. If you're driving and it's an emergency, don't put on your siren just because you want to pass.
Please. Yeah, that's a stupid, because that is why people think they're always doing that and don't pay them any mind and don't give them a chance to advance in the traffic.
Definitely so.
So the speed is dependent on what the conditions are we're allowed to drive. So you notice that the speed limit, one of the things I think we have to do is make sure that the speed limit is written in one measure, whether it's kilometers or miles.
Yes.
Okay? Because people don't understand the difference. Okay? Kilometers, smaller numbers, right? Even if the number is big, it still might be less than a mile than using a mile. So you need a kilometer is much less than a mile. So you have to understand that. So we talk about speeding, right? There are speed limits, and we are required to follow speed limits. How fast are you allowed to drive? But it doesn't mean that if you're allowed to drive 30 miles per hour, that you have to keep a sustained 30 miles per hour. Remember, I tell you the road condition changes. It changes every single day. Okay? So I drive to River Road, for example, right? To go to work. And I count the humps, they're 9. And I'm like, somebody said, which one is coming up, right? You have to be aware. You have to navigate where you're going, right? So that you don't have to speed when you're like, oh my goodness, I'm still 40 minutes away or 30 minutes away and I have 5 minutes. You don't need to have to speed. You leave home on time. You know where you're going to pass. You think in your mind, if this roadblock, where can I pass? So there's no need to be hurried. The other thing is that when you drive fast, you spend more money on petrol. I don't know if people know that.
Yes, that's more wear and tear in your vehicle.
Yeah, and more wear and tear, right? So the speeding thing, we have to avoid it. We have to drive conscientiously. We have to make sure that that we drive to get there safely. We and everybody else who's on the road with us, right? So that's about the speeding thing.
Just before we move on,
start to make sure that your brakes working.
Yeah, just before
so
we move on from the speeding, I just wanted to share a little bit of information here, and folks, it's coming from the World Health Organization site, and it says an increase in average speed is directly related both to the likelihood of a crash occurring and to the severity of the consequences of the crash. For example, every 1% increase in mean speed produces a 4% increase in the fatal crash risk and a 3% increase in the serious crash risk. The death risk for pedestrians hit by a car front rises 4.5% from 50 kilometers per hour to 65 kilometers per hour. And in car-to-car side impacts, or it impacts the fatality risk for car occupants, and that's 85% at 65 kilometers per hour. And this is not rocket science. The faster you drive, you increase the risk of serious injury or death. Simple. So, there we go. Driving
and
on
if both of you are driving fast,
well,
it's even worse.
Definitely.
You and the person with whom you collide.
Definitely.
It's even worse.
Right.
So speed matters. Speed kills.
It does.
The more you speed, the more likely you are to die.
Definitely so.
So can we segue into alcohol?
Well, this is what I was coming to now. Driving under the influence of alcohol and other psychoactive substances.
I never understood what being high meant. I don't consume alcohol, right? But I was in this city with some friends of mine one night, and my friend's husband was driving their car, and I was with them. And it was a Saturday night. We're driving through the city, and he turned on his soca music, right? And the music was pumping, and I got so high. And I'm saying, oh my goodness, this is why people lose inhibition. That's a distraction. Think about if you're taking a psychoactive substance, a substance that's going to make your brain function differently, that makes you high, right? Makes you feel elated. How much it inhibits your ability to control yourself. How much disinhibition there is, right? So that is one of the things that we have to think about. It mightn't just be drinking alcohol, which already after 2 drinks, your brain start work on its own, okay? And we see people who walk out like cockroaches off those cruise ships, those in a harbor cruise boats, and they come out and they walk over to their car. And they'll tell you their car know the road. But poor car doesn't realize that the road changes every day. Right? The truth is, after you've had 2 drinks, your cognitive ability starts, how you make decisions, right? Changes. It changes. Your reflexes are slower. Your executive functioning. I'm going to do this or I'm not going to do this. If I do this, it may cost that. So once the inhibition's gone, you feel, boy, I can do this. You know, to talk about a guy who riding the bike and say, oh, you're going to ride through those two bags are coming in the opposite direction. Well, he's in a cemetery, actually. Because it was a vehicle, and he went head on to this car. But you don't know who else you're going to kill if you're speeding.
That's the thing.
Right? I know a story of a young lady, a young woman who died. Father went to pick her up. She was in like just fifth form. And one of her friends, they didn't even get together. And one of the friends' mom didn't turn up. So she asked her dad to take the friend home. And they're driving on the highway, and these two guys sped and hit them, right? And I don't think anything happened to the car, but how they hit, the car spun and caught a fire. The father, his daughter are there sitting in the front, and the other kid is in the back, right? The car gets on fire. He opens the back door to take out the people's child. And when he turns back, his daughter perishes in a car that now becomes totally engulfed in flame. Think of living with that. Think of the psychological impact. Think of the guilt. Think of the post-traumatic stress. Think about how you explain that to your wife, that you just killed a child on the road. You just allowed her child to be killed. There are a couple of drivers who drive her gone away. Right? And who probably were high. And people say, oh, that's what alcohol does. But guess what? The other drugs do it as well. Cocaine and heroin heighten your behaviors, right? Make you high, make you hallucinate, make you can't think straight, don't understand exactly what your reality is. And like I said, makes you lose inhibition. You can do anything. I'm invincible. That's what it makes you feel. What does cannabis do? Cannabis slows you down. So an accident that you may have been able to avoid on a day when you're not high, you cannot, right? You may recognize that an accident can happen. You may recognize everything because cognitively, decision-making wise, everything is fine. But when it comes to being able to execute, because your reflexes are so slow, you don't have that capacity, right? So it's not that cannabis is not better, cannabis is just not good. Nor is anything that we take. But it also has to do with taking medications that may be prescribed for, you may have depression or you may have anxiety and you're given a medication, or you may not have slept well and the doctor gives you sleeping medication. And he said, boy, I'm going down by umbrellas, I'm going down wherever it is. I don't know where people go in the night. Prickly Bay, that's okay. Entertainment is fine. I'm going down to Wall Street or wherever. But you don't have the capacity to take control because your reflexes are so slow. Just as bad as your record being high, and you just make all bad decisions. So mind-altering substances must also be considered whether or not they are legitimately consumed. Okay? You may take it because you should, but not to go on the road.
Definitely.
And so my colleagues are going to have to tell people, we talk about if you don't drink, don't drive. And that's okay, right? My colleagues are going to have to tell people, look, this is going to slow you down, or this is going to make you drowsy. This might blur your vision and all the rest. You're going to have to tell people, do you drive? You can't drive if you take, or you shouldn't drive if you're taking this, right? So that's the challenges with using mind-altering substances.
Yep, indeed. Distracted driving.
So the one again?
Distracted driving.
Distracted driver. Oh, everybody cuss and go on when the police say no phone, no cell phone. Trust me, if I pick up my cell phone, drive and pick up your cell phone and see how much conscious time you lose.
Yeah.
Just pick up the phone. You don't even have to look at it. Just take it up. And even when you're speaking on the speaker using your Bluetooth, you are distracted because
you have to think about
you engage differently. Your brain can only do really one thing at a time. This is not walking and chewing gum. This is thinking. Okay, you get distracted by the use of the cell phone. And it's easy. You make your call and you go your way, right? Yes, you may have Bluetooth and you can touch it, but you still have to slow down on your speed. You still have to take time off to recognize, hey, I'm driving, right? Or you can tell somebody, I'll call you back. Don't give yourself the opportunity not to be able to call back. Okay?
I mean, you see, I see it all the time, Doc. You have people who are driving and they have the cell phone in front of the face and they're texting.
Yeah.
I don't know if they think that if they put the phone in front of here, they can actually text and look at the road
See
at the
the
same
road.
time.
I when you look very on the other side of the road.
Yeah.
I went on the bus one afternoon, and as we left the bus park, probably reached the fish market, the phone ring. And the bus driver take out the phone and start chatting. And I said to him, "Excuse me? You're talking on your phone with me on the bus?" He said, "Oh no, I'm not talking." And put on the phone. And we have to get to that point where we ask drivers to desist or let me down.
And mind you, not just for, and let me say this here, and you know, I need to say this, Doc, not just for the telephone, but
the loud music,
and that is one, and I'm speaking specifically here to our bus drivers, because one of the things with our bus drivers, whenever you speak about them, they're quick to complain and behave as though
get vexed
and behave as though they are victims and are looking straight at the camera so they can see me. When you're driving and you have people or you have passengers in your bus, in your transportation, you are doing a public service. And the passengers, they are entitled to getting to their destination safely. And so, if you decide to speed, I'm saying to the passengers, you have a right to stop and get off the bus, and you don't have to pay them. You don't have to pay them. If they are driving recklessly and unsafe so that you feel concerned for your safety,
yes,
simply ask them to stop, get off the bus, and you do not have to pay them.
So I have had to do this. I took a bus from, you know, that bus stop by GBSS across from PWU?
Yes.
Because I'm going to Grand Anse to a walk. And I park my car there so I can get my car to go home at the end of the walk. And I take the bus to Grand Anse. Bus comes, I sit in the front, there's another gentleman in the middle and the driver, right? And we get to the roundabout by Tropicana, and a car is coming from down Kirani James, right? And the guy, I thought the car was going to go straight. And the guy just jumps across the front of the vehicle, the driver. Trust me, all he needed was slow down for a second. Because the car was swinging to go onto Paddock Road, right? And I said to him, you know he had the right of way, right? He says, you want to come drive this? You want to come and drive this? And I said, no, I own a car. I drive. And he says, well, you want me to let you off then? I said, sure. By all means. He was in shock because he thought I wouldn't get off. And at the bus, at that Otway gas station on Kirani James, I got off and I said, I smiled and I walked away because I know there are 5,000 other buses that are going to come.
Of course.
You have public passengers have to understand that they also have to take responsibility for their safety.
Of course.
And comfort.
I don't understand it. You sit in a bus, you're uncomfortable, a driver is speeding. On top of that, there's loud music blasting.
Yes.
And you are what? Are you afraid to ask him to stop so that you can get off? Don't be afraid. Ask him to stop. He has to.
Please let me off.
He has to. And
yes.
Don't forget,
and when we
you
start
don't
doing that,
have to pay.
Are going to be, when we start doing that, the drivers are going to behave differently.
Of course.
Because we have to be the regulators of the people who take us from one of the system that takes us to one place. You get on a bus in the morning to go to work because you want to get to work safely. That's the purpose of the bus.
That's
to transport you safely so you can engage in whatever social or economic activity you choose. The bus driver doesn't allow you to say, I think I need to get off here.
You know,
Don't be afraid.
You know, Doc, about 2 months ago, I drove into the gas station by Otway. I was getting some petrol for my car. So I was in the line there and they were putting the petrol. And there was this bus on the bus stop. And there were some people coming down from the top. And he wasn't satisfied waiting.
He had to reverse.
He reversed. And I'm looking. He reversed inside of the gas station, and guess what?
Unlock.
No, he bounced down his conductor. He bounced down his conductor.
Because he's focused on the people in the back and not the safety around the vehicle.
$2.50. And
I always tell him that.
I don't understand it. I don't understand it. So, I hope the bus association, because
yes,
they usually get upset when people talk. Yeah.
I'm all for safe public transportation, especially now that we have too many cars on the road. It's become frustrating. There's a lot of they call it when you get angry on the road?
Road rage.
Road rage and all the rest of it. Right? Because like I said, people have to pray in the morning before I go on the road because people will make me say the wrong things. But the point is, I'm all for public transportation. I lived in a city where I never had a car. I used just public transportation. People polite, you get on the train, on the bus, and everybody's reading, or they have they listen to music, everybody's quiet, polite, give you a seat, step around so it's a path. I'm looking for, because I think we're looking for the people. We're 100,000 people. We don't have to all of us have to take, we don't have to take our cars to work. You see 3 cars coming from one family in the morning to go to work on the same street. Why? We're not even going to talk about the environmental challenges. You could talk about that on your Wednesday program.
Yeah.
But we have to ensure that we drive people safely. We all have to ensure that our children are properly harnessed in the car. Not with their nose up on a windscreen. You want to do that? Park your car in the stadium and let them put their nose up on the windscreen.
That's a very important thing you made about the children, because some time ago I said, you have some of these vehicles and they have that what is it's a window at the top, sunroof. That's the name, sunroof. And I saw there was a child actually standing in the vehicle with half of the body outside in that
So
sunroof.
that means he's standing on the seat.
Yeah. Now,
On the back of the seat.
You probably think, well, the child is having a nice view, but what if you have to hit the brake suddenly? What happens to the child? And and folks, we're probably saying all of this, and if you're wondering, but these are the things that one can create accidents, and if we understand it, how they can create accidents, and the impact, the long-lasting effects that these accidents can have, it is important that you pay attention.
Yeah.
Pay attention. There was once I asked a lawyer, I said, why is it that sometimes, even if a lawyer knows that someone is guilty, they defend them? And he looked at me and he said, he smiled and he said, you wait until it actually hits home to you, and then you would understand. And I'm saying that to say that we hear all of these things, but when it happens to you or a loved one of yours, then you may seriously understand what is it we're talking about. So I'm saying to you, look, pay attention, take it seriously, because it can happen.
And as a driver, you're required to, you're an obligation to yourself to not get on the wrong side of the law. Think about it. You're a taxi man, right? Or you're a salesperson, and you need your car to be on the road, and the police take away your driver's license. Or you take away your driver's license and you have a 3-year-old who's asthmatic, and every so often you have to run to the hospital. Think of all of those things.
Doc, I am glad you mentioned that, because you have placed us right into the next one we want to look at. Inadequate law enforcement of traffic laws. Inadequate law enforcement of traffic laws.
Yes. So there's one law that I have a particular interest in its application, and that is in the breathalyzer law. Because that's one of the things that is very close to my heart, that I try to influence occurring. We drink too much rum, okay? Bottom line. Yet I don't know that we we enforcing the breathalyzer law. Like I tell you, I see some cockroach come off on the carnage and go to their car, and I think of it. Okay, if you apply the law fairly, because like I said, not everybody who makes that mistake can be charged. And people, the police. I've seen the police give advice, reprimand, and say, look, don't do this again, and that's okay. Because I think we need to be human, right?
Yeah.
And lenient. But not when a minibus, I drive along Tantine Road, right? I'm sitting on the road with my little great nephew, and I said to him, hey, how come I reach high school and a bus didn't overtake yet? And I say yes, and the bus overtakes 10 cars and ended up 2 cars ahead of me. He's now by the tennis courts, right? Simply because 2 cars are advancing, going towards St. George's. We're going towards the ministerial complex. He's going towards St. George's, right? Along Tantine. And there are 2 cars advancing, right? So he has to now duck into the traffic.
Oh, that's a video you sent me that video. I think you sent me a video of that. Yes, I saw it.
Well, you may have seen that video, but here.
Yes, I saw it.
He now ducks into the traffic, putting everybody at risk because you may be driving, and the traffic is moving now. Let's get this. We're not sitting in traffic. It's just moving slow because, a lot of people coming and going up the lane, and, there's a lot of traffic. It's after school time at TAMCC and stuff. Not only does he do that, he stays there until those 2 vehicles pass, and he ducks out again. Bus full of passengers, right? And then when he gets to that bus stop by the roundabout, on the GBSS and outside of TAMCC, he turns right. The traffic is one way, the other way. He turns right, and he goes up, continues towards the roundabout, onto the roundabout, and then turns left and goes up to the complex because he's so busy. Right? What do you do to a guy like that? I don't know. I'm not a police. I don't know all the laws. But I want to go back to the breathalyzer law. I think it must be implemented a little more regularly because we drink too much rum.
No,
if you drink, take the bus. If you drink, make somebody else drive. There are a lot of people who don't drink. And not the one who drink the least is going to drive. The one who drink none is the driver.
That's right. But
okay? I understand that.
I also believe that aside from the breathalyzer, I believe that some of the traffic offenses, there should be more stringent measures taken against some of our drivers.
And there should be measures taken, even if they're not very stringent. People must be made aware that you have done something wrong. They must be made aware that why would you go and drive a car without a driver's license? That's snub in the face of the people who make the laws.
Yep.
Why would you be on the road with no driver's license? A license is supposed to indicate that you are capable, you have been found capable of conducting a motor vehicle in a sober state.
That's right. Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. So.
Why would you drive a vehicle that's inept? That's not good. Right? You didn't fix the brakes, you're not giving trouble. Why would you do that? Why would you drive a vehicle over the speed limit? Right? Why? Why would you be dragging on Grandance Road? Right? Because the regular people who drive on Grandance Road are down on the stretch. So we have to think about it. Why are you not recognizing that pedestrians also have a right to use the road? So do slow people, so do old people, so do people with physical disabilities. People, whether the disability be limbs or visual, right? Everybody has a right to be a road user. So why are you not following the rules? Why do you think you deserve a driver's license and you don't know the road code? Right? Those are things that need to be done. I think there's a lot of space for rehabilitation, for support, I wish the bus drivers would make sure that all their drivers had defensive driver's license, because that's on the books as far as I know, right? If it were enforced, we wouldn't have all the foolishness that goes on the road. Okay? Live up to the standards. There are laws that are intended. Laws are not intended to oppress. Laws are intended to make sure that we are compliant with the rules of the country, following just common sense, right? So, why is it that we think we can do what we want and then want to bribe the police? And why do police accept bribe? I probably go to jail in the morning when they see me on the road, tell me that I have 3 tires on my car instead of 4. But that's okay, right? No, that's fine.
So folks, our telephone line is now open. The number is 435-2041. You can give us a call if you have any questions you'd like to ask, or there's anything you'd like to add. We'll be very happy to accommodate you. I have a comment here on our Facebook page. Someone is saying, the truth is I am afraid to walk the road these days because you're on one side and getting bounced down still. Yeah.
So one of the things that is, and I understand that person, the government, whoever runs the country, the administration of the country, also has a responsibility that I don't think we should overlook, to ensure that they provide facilities for walking.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
That's
yes.
unlike downtown on Granby Street, where these people think they can park on the roadside and have pedestrians walk in the middle of Granby Street. I'm talking about in front of Flo and KFC and Digicel, where people decide to park in the bank, Scotiabank. That's Republic, right? No.
Yeah.
I have a peeve. I used to drive there a lot. And it's hard for a driver to transition through town in that creeping traffic. Because some people decide they want to park on the roadside. Ooh, see a park right here, so on the right side, on the side by KFC.
But what about Melville Street? There's no sidewalk. The sidewalk has now become the market. You know, Doc. Let's
another thing.
Yeah, let's go to the telephone. We have a caller on the line. Doctor and call. Good evening. Hello.
Yes.
Yes. Good evening, caller.
Yes. Yes. What you need, or the police need to do, the drivers drinking and driving, the smoking and driving. Is it? Yes. I see it happen.
The guys in the bus park, the drivers in the bus park.
Yeah, the drivers
while waiting for bus are
drinking beers.
Yes.
And driving. And they smoking and driving with a loud set of music. The police should get seriously involved over that.
Indeed. Thank you, caller. Thank you very much indeed. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yes. No, that these are serious issues, and you know, I just want to re-emphasize it. These are some of the actions or behaviors that results in accidents, and accidents, they do have long-lasting effects. Doc put it nicely. She broke it down. Even the financial implications that can result. You know. So these are the things that we're talking about, and it's very, very important. It is a public health issue. 435-2041, that's the number you can call, and you can share your thoughts. So if you have any questions you'd like to ask, you can definitely do so. 435-2041, that's the number you can call. Doc, there was one other little issue, but before we take that, let's just go back to the telephone. Doctor and call, good evening. Hello. Good evening, caller.
Good evening.
Yes, sir.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Caller, can you turn the volume of your radio or your TV down and listen to us on your telephone?
I want to say,
I think he's having.
Yes, go ahead, caller. We're hearing you.
okay, yeah. That program is so profound tonight.
Keep speaking, sir.
It's so profound. Yes, I'm saying that you need to document this program, make a video or something, and have every driver listen to that program. This, you know, I think it was mentioned that Monkuma Road. You know what I said about that Monkuma Road? We should probably declare it a no accident road. And let people ensure that they drive safely so that we have no accidents. And because, as you said tonight, we keep people all sorts of things. And probably the people who drive don't take time out to listen to those things. And, you know, and I also said, yeah, there was an accident. You remember on the 6th of March, the McIntyre guy got killed? So we had an accident for the killing. So we need to have...
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I said, in order for us to ensure that nobody dies, we probably have to stop people from driving for 2 days. Have a good night.
Thank you, caller.
No, and that's very good. So, since you brought up Mr. McIntyre,
Yeah, sure, yes.
and
So
again,
unfortunate.
condolences to the McIntyre family on this profound loss of their young son.
Definitely.
So, road users, people who jog, and I'm not saying this is a case of McIntyre. Please, when you're going to road in the night, don't wear them dark clothes. We don't have a lot of light. Okay? If you're gonna go jogging or walking early in the morning when the light is down, make sure you have clothes that you can see, that you can be seen, or you have like reflectors on your arms and legs so they can see somebody on the road. Make sure also that you walk on the road. Make sure also that you walk on the road. Make sure also that you walk on the road in a safe part of the road. Okay? Make sure that that's what you do. That although I understand McIntyre was killed on the road, but you have to be responsible for yourself. Okay? And also like cyclists who ride in the night without reflectors and all the rest of it. There are precautions that we can take. You do not have any right to walk in the road as a pedestrian. And I want to say that, right? Because pedestrians get injured. There are rules that pedestrians also have to, and police don't charge pedestrians, right? Remember that. And they often break the traffic and cause challenges, right? Because when somebody licks your car because you slow down because somebody decided to run across the street, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So pedestrians are not blameless, but if they were a little more responsible, there'll probably be less injury to them. So be very careful. Make sure people can. Make sure you can be seen.
Yeah.
Make sure you can be seen, but you're in the right place. You're following the rules. There are people who think they can just drop in front of my car because my car know that they come in and say, "Oh, I see Miss Jane there." That don't happen. My car, I have to conduct my car. Okay.
Let's go back to the telephone.
So,
yeah. We have
yes.
Doctor and call. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes. Good evening, caller.
Yes. Well, I'll give you the most ridiculous incident I saw in Grand Dance. When you're a gentleman driving a trailer truck, 40-foot trailer truck with a container on top of it, coming down from the where the Egyptians have the hotel there.
Yes.
You leave the post office and you're coming around that sharp corner, Woodruff corner, that sharp corner there by the
Silver Sands,
Silver Sands Hotel, yes. Coming around that corner, the full speed, 4:30, and he is on his cell phone. I couldn't believe it. I nearly ran out of the car because he was coming around that corner, the full speed, with driving a 40-foot container, and he's on his phone. So that means he's on his phone and he's controlling this.
Yeah.
So many tons. He's
reckless.
Around the corner there, he's with one hand.
Yeah, reckless because we know that 40-foot containers are at very high risk of jackknifing. Right? There was an incident about 20 years ago. A young woman who was a patient of mine driving to work on the highway. Her little boy is there. She drives a RAV4. Her sister and her little boy are in the vehicle with her. And a young man driving a 40-foot container, a truck ahead with a 40-foot container, jackknives on the highway. So the jackknife means that the thing turn.
Yeah.
The container.
Yeah.
Turns.
Yes.
And swings, right? It swings and turning. That girl was decapitated. She lost her head. The whole top of the van went. You know why her son and her sister lived? The boy was lying on the back seat, and the sister had reclined the seat because they had a little driving to work.
Yeah.
And the sister had reclined her seat and was lying flat, almost flat. And my patient died the morning because somebody jackknifed. But that's losing a life. Do you remember that vehicle, that same truck that jackknife on that same corner a few years ago in Grenada? About just before COVID.
Yes.
And people lost their flights. Flights lost the ability to leave because the passengers were on the way into town. Main thoroughfare. It doesn't really matter whether it's a main or secondary thoroughfare. You have a responsibility to drive so you don't hamper other people's transit to where they want to go.
You see, and that's the point. That's the point, Doc.
Here the loss. Bus drivers lose their income. People couldn't pick up their children at daycare. Right? People got to work late, so they earned less money. People couldn't go home from work because they had to stay at work until shift changed. Right? Their children come home unattended. Their grandmother don't get her bath and get her clothes changed in the evening, etc., etc. The loss from the airlines, right? The taximen, all the people who benefited from just the transit being able to move safely and smoothly were affected that evening because one fool drove his container truck badly. We have to be responsible, all users of the road. So when I leave home in the morning, you just say, what is my responsibility on the road today? How do I prevent myself, the people I'm responsible for, and everybody who uses the road? How do I prevent them from being affected physically, emotionally? It doesn't really matter, right? I am responsible to make sure that the transit flows freely and safely, especially for me.
Yes.
How well do I know the road code? Do I know how to keep the traffic going? Do I drive a vehicle that's roadworthy? Do I know where the vehicle is going with them? How I know my place? If I'm going to a new place, let's say you come from St. George's and you want to go to SG, but you have a meeting at 8 o'clock in the morning. You can take a little ride out the evening before, or 2 days before, and navigate if you've never been there. So you can figure out where you go.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
or
yes.
you go on even when there's traffic about the same time and navigate and scout and see what is. Even here, you should do that.
Right. Let's take a call. We have a caller. Dr. and call. Good evening.
Hello. Good night.
Yes. Good evening, caller.
Good evening.
Yeah. It is a nice program. It is a very nice program, but you have too much talking from you and the host.
Okay, 435-2041. That's the number you can call, and you can share your thoughts with us. There's one person on the WhatsApp platform who says, Doc, I think it's important to highlight the following: the difference between braking and stopping distance depending on speed traveling. The need to modify one's speed according to road condition, that is dry or wet condition. Lots of training and educating is necessary for a large partition of Grenada drivers. Let's go back to the telephone. Dr. and call, good evening. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good evening, caller.
Good evening.
Yes.
I really enjoyed that program. I tell you something, that even in Grenville, we realized that right in front on the top street by Bowler, where used to be Bowler shop, we have a no parking sign there. And yet still we have learner driver parking up on that side and teaching them, the drivers to break the traffic on the other side and go up, and nothing is actually happening about it. You know, each time I sit down and I look at it and I say, what we need to do also is to make sure that people who teach people to drive, that they
could drive themselves
license to be able to handle themselves, because some of them can't even read properly. You see, and that's a fundamental problem that we face with. It's not only the police, but it's everybody to really put things together. You know, and Doctor put it nicely. You know, because she was very articulate in addressing all the issues with respect to that. I have one more comment to make, is that I feel, especially when it comes to drunken driving and stuff like that, they send them back to driving school and all of that, and they cannot get a license. Because when you're driving a public transport, you're driving, it's life that is involved.
Yes.
You can't just drive drunken and stuff like that is very absurd for us, you know. This is my contribution, really. You know, I really love that program. I wish you could play it again another time. Because it touches a lot of important, pertinent issues that is happening in our country right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. Thanks a lot indeed. There's another.
And thanks to that gentleman for looking for solutions. Because I think, and actually, I want to tell you, because that's one of the things I was going to talk about some of the solutions. How can we solve the problem? The solution has to be collective.
Definitely. Someone is saying, good night, Godfrey, there is a corner by, there's this corner by Clark's, I think Clarkscourt Bay in Woodlands. There is no sidewalk for pedestrians. Gravel is on the edge of the road. Drivers speed in that area. I try not to miss my bus when going to church. Something should be done in that area. It is very dangerous. So a lot of these little things needs to be addressed, Doc, as you said, because highlighting the problems is one thing. What do we do? How do we address them? And this is very, very important as well. Very, very important.
So we really focusing a lot on community development and how communities, people take responsibility for developing this country. And we're not about bashing. Tonight we're really about, I know a gentleman called and seemed quite upset that we are talking too much. We are talking too much realities, too many truths. We have to look and see what are the problems. Our transit system is a very big problem. I must not come home stressed every day, driving 3 miles, or must not get to work in the morning stressed, right? And people are stressed. I think even the bus drivers are stressed because they're trying to make $1 on a bad road, okay? And everybody's speeding and everybody gets angry. We have to look for it. Should we still be driving through St. George's? My opinion is no. St. George's cannot manage the amount of vehicles that are there. Why do we have to drive into St. George's if we don't drive an emergency vehicle? We don't have a job that entails emergency, right? Have you ever been down to San Juan, to Santo Domingo, down in the city? Nobody drive, you drive on the outskirts. You walk for a mile to get to the store. Because there's just so many cars, right?
Yes,
are we ever going to be able to regulate the amount of vehicles that we have on the road? We have to come up with suggestions, with amicable suggestions, not to take away people's rights, but to give them a different platform on which to exhibit their rights. Okay?
Yep, definitely.
I would like to know that everybody can drive their car some days a week at least. But we just have so many vehicles. Can't everybody go on the road at the same time? Right? It creates a lot of problems for all of us.
Yes, it does.
Right? It creates a lot of problems. So we have to come with very practical and realistic suggestions. And the truth is, some of us may lose, so we think. But at the end of the day, I think the population will win when we do breathalyzers, when we make sure that people know their road code, when we do the other thing is proper inspection of vehicles. Okay? Because a lot of us know, we wash our engine, the car is never tested, nobody really, they test the brake, but they test the brake quickly, right? But there's so many other things that are wrong with the vehicle, right? And you go and you get it passed. And we know in our heart of hearts that our cars are not fit for the road.
Roadworthy.
How is our conscience going to guide us so that we all can live? And like I said, it's not just whether or not you come out alive or dead at the end of the day. How are you emotionally and otherwise at the end of the day, having gone through the traffic? Do you get your children to school on time safely, or do you have to wait?
Yeah, Doc, let's see if we can get that last call because we're getting close to wrap up time. Let's take that final call, and then we have another comment, and then we'll wrap. Doctor in call.
Good morning.
Yes, good evening.
Yes, sir. It hurts me to see.
I'm not able to hear.
It hurts me to see that you all are trying to educate the people or us, and someone calling and say you all are talking too much. Let me tell you this. When I look at what is happening, even the police are not educating people. People supposed to walk facing the traffic. In other words, you walk not giving the traffic your back, so that if someone is coming or something is coming onto you,
can see.
then it's possible you can get away from it. Even underneath the tunnel, you're meeting people walking 2 and 3 abreast each other. They are friends. This shouldn't be happening. They should realize underneath the tunnel in St. John is narrow, and they have to be facing the oncoming traffic. This is one of the principles of good walking, as you would say, etiquette. I don't know. We don't like to hear when anybody say good things. They like to hear foolishness. That's what is happening with some Grenadians. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah. Let me just take this WhatsApp comment. Good evening, Doctor and Call. We also need to address the not dimming of the lights issue. People have vehicles and don't even know how their lights work. Some people, they don't know anything about dimming. Someone is asking, good night, when are traffic lights are going to be installed? Well, I know they're doing work on it, so hopefully.
As the police,
yes.
as the traffic department, that I think they're on the way, but they have to coordinate it. So you can't start one and then start the other.
Yeah,
the timing
definitely.
Has to be coordinated.
Yeah. But Doc, the thing is, we out of time. Just a quick comment here on the Facebook, on our Facebook page. Someone says, this is a very good topic tonight. There are lots of vehicles on the roads and it's not wide enough. Some of the people drink and drive, They speed and also lack experience, and lack of the experience can contribute to most accidents. Thank you for the program. Yes, indeed. Quite a few comments. But Doc, we may have to revisit that topic because the calls keep coming, the messages on the WhatsApp platform and Facebook page, they keep coming, and you can tell that there are a lot of people who are very concerned about what is happening on our roads with the accidents and so on, and definitely something needs to be done. So Doc, maybe we can wrap your last few comments.
I want to thank the people who called. I notice men call, and that's very important to me, that our men are listening, because usually they're the biggest transgressors. They drive more than women. Look, it is important that we keep our social and economic life active. The transit or the traffic enhances that, gives us the opportunity, like I said, take a cocoa to the market, go carry your vegetable and fruit to sell, take your kids to school, go to dance, take your kids to their ballet or their cricket class, or go to train for athletics, whatever it is, right? It gives us an opportunity to live a more full life because we get there a little faster than if we had to walk, right? It's a convenience. But I'm going to ask everybody to put themselves into this. My duty towards a safe transit, ensuring that a safe transit is, I can tell you what mine is. Mine is to make sure that I always know the road code and follow it.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is to ensure that I drive at a reasonable rate so that I can get there and everybody whom I meet can get there. Mine is to ensure that I think of you and all of us acting like a set of ants, right? We're working together to ensure that your economic activity is complete, or your social, whatever you're doing. Manage to ensure that my car is in a good state to be on the road. So when I know my brakes aren't working, I put on and take the bus that passes in front of my house. Manage to ensure that I encourage the people whom I meet to do the right thing. Manage to ensure that I navigate my pathway, and I always remember that the road changes every day.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to go into your head and see how you make it, right? Manage to ensure that I enlighten other people. Manage to ensure that I talk to the police when I see crap on the street so that we can make it better. I'm going to ask everybody tonight, everybody who listens to this program at all, to think, what is my role in the transit? What is my role as a road user? How am I going to ensure that we enjoy this Easter You go, we fly kite. I'm flying a kokoriki. I just tell everybody that. I'm flying my kokoriki on Sunday. But my to ensure that everybody's right is maintained. I don't have to drop into puddles on the road. I don't have to fly past when people are standing on the street and spread up dust on them and all the rest, or make them feel insecure. You think about it. What is my role in ensuring that the traffic in Grenada is a safe place? And how can I encourage my friends to practice safe driving and so that we all live better?
Thank you very much indeed.
And be safe on the road, generally.
Thank you very much indeed.
And listen to the police.
Yes, indeed. So, folks, thank you very much, all for your comments, your calls. We do thank you very much. And, of course, we will be revisiting that topic because it is very important. We are all aware of the number of accidents that happen, and so we will continue to put information out there so people can pay attention. Thank you very much indeed. Just want to remind you as we approach the Easter weekend, keep this program in mind. That program is recorded. It's on the YouTube channel. It's on our Facebook page. Those of you who missed it, you can go back. You can look at it again and try to get the information. So thank you very much. Just a little reminder, Week Culture this week will be on Thursday. Don't forget that because, of course, Good Friday is a public holiday. So Week Culture will be on Thursday. And you can join us tomorrow night on Our Climate Reality. We're looking at climate change and the blue economy and the impacts that climate change has on our oceans. So be sure to join us for that. That's tomorrow at 8:30 on Our Climate Reality. Thank you very much and do have a good night.
And happy Easter to everybody.
Yes, indeed. All the best.